Yo, it's your friend Dinner Dog, and I'm really excited for this one. We're just going to talk about how the wolf works. There's nothing about the randomizer in this video, it's just how the wolf works, alright? So Talic helped me out a lot with this one, so shouts to him. And let's break it down, because there's a whole bunch to go through here. The one thing I want to mention is Talic was a lad and made a whole bunch of videos to showcase the movement, which we're going to see in here. And a lot of things happen quickly. So if you're watching this on YouTube, which you clearly are, you can pause the video and hit the greater than, less than symbols to like advance it by a frame, and then you'll be able to see all of the controller movement that's happening to make the wolf do exactly what we're doing. So other than that, let's dive right into this bad boy here. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about speed a lot, and we're going to express that in how many frames we can move per second, right? So Alucard walks at 1.5, and the wolf walks at 1. So the fundamental problem when trying to use the wolf is trying to use it effectively. We're going to learn through this video why it kind of feels like you're driving like a stiff tank sometimes. And so we're trying to avoid being in the walk and all the stiff movement. We kind of want to be in this wolf dash pace. And when I say dash, I mean like running with the wolf. That's how we're going to express it in this video. The skill of wolf and like the lunge forward is a different tactic all itself. So looking at the wolf dash, we're going to move at 3 pixels per frame, which is about the same as an average shield dash. The benefit of this, though, is that the wolf will maintain the speed in the air, so like when jumping, whereas Alucard won't, which is why, like in some speed runs, like especially like any percent and stuff like that, you'll see some wolf movement because they'll be able to gain some speed through maintaining the 3 pixels per frame that you get even in the air, where shield dashing can't maintain that. Okay, skill of wolf moves at 4.8, and it's a rough estimate because when you do the skill of wolf, you actually start a bit faster than when it ends. So the outcome is about 4.8 every frame. And then it's slightly slower than the wing smash, which is really cool. And then power of wolf dash at its maximum is 9 pixels per frame. You're really zooming at that point. The problem with this is that you're almost never going to reach 9 pixels per frame. That's really fast. You need such a long runway because you don't get instant acceleration like you do with a wing smash here. So the best example is the reverse tombstone room in the second castle. It's about even with the bat. Once you factor in like acceleration and such. So if you can get a longer runway than that, then like Power of Wolf will be faster. But there's MP considerations and all of that kind of stuff to take into account as well. Okay. The other thing too is that once the wolf gets past this 3 frames per second or 3 frames per pixel movement, that's when it gains invulnerability in a hitbox. It actually has nothing to do with using, it's not innate to skill of wolf or power of wolf. It's just, can you get faster than this? And it's just the unfortunate business is that with the speed capped with just the wolf relic, you just can't get past this. But it's not the actual power of wolf that gives that. Like theoretically, if you could like tweak the speed of the wolf relic, you would get the invulnerability in the hitbox as well. But that's the speed here. Okay, so now we know some stuff about speed, and we want to go fast. Let's talk about starting dashes. And this is the big problem. There's so many situations where you double tap, and then you just don't run, right? We're going to explain all those here, and by knowing those, we can avoid the situations, or we can exploit why it's happening and actually gain a bit of time, right? So when we're starting a dash, the typical way is, you just double tap forward, right? You double tap that bad boy, and you'll go start running. Or if you want to also start a dash, you can do the down to forward plus attack with skill of wolf, and then you'll get the extra speed, and then you'll go into a dash, whether that is a powered dash or the regular wolf dash, depending if you have power of wolf or not. But there's a couple other cool situations here. We got videos for these. So the turnaround dash, all right? Let's play this bad boy here. Okay, so the deal with the turnaround dash is when you press back to turn around, that counts as the first tap to initiate the wolf dash. So you turn around, and then if you tap one more time, you will start running or dashing as the wolf. So it's cool because that we can get to a dash state faster, but what's probably happened, and I know you've experienced this, is that you probably turn around, you go to double tap to dash, and then you just stutter, right? So you got to know that this is a thing to avoid that stutter, and then just get into the dash faster, right? So that exists there, and if we keep her going here, There's also a single tap dash. So let's bring up the video for that. You can see at the bottom, of course, pause and do anything you need to do to see the movement. But if you're following along with me, so if you're in the air and you're moving forward, but you're not in a dash, so like you're in some kind of like jump, like especially a super jump, and you're not in a dash, when you land while holding forward, you just press the button one more time. That holding forward as you were moving counts, and you can see it in the video here in a couple different scenarios. Also, if you come to a stop while on the ground, there's a slight window where you can just press it once as well. To reinitiate that dash. Or just to start a dash if you're just walking before. So that again is like why this thing feels like tank controls, right? Because if you were walking and then you're saying, okay, I'm stopping walking, I'm going to start something. If you hit that 6-frame window, you'll just kind of stutter again. In any forward jump, a single tap can start a dash within 10 frames of landing, right? So there's all sorts of different situations where a single tap is going to just enable this dash, all right? So either you've got one of two options. You would need to know that this is a thing and then perform the single tap, or when you come into one of these situations, it's just to wait a minute and then do the double tap. That'd be better than doing the stutter and then having to start again. Now let's talk about auto dashing, right? So auto dashing, you're never going to do this in randomizer, right? But you need to know what this is, just because you might hear the term thrown around and think you're missing out, right? So there should be no fear of missing out. Let's get this one video out, and let's bring on the auto dash. So the auto dash here is when we are by a ledge, and there's technically a number of ways to make it happen, but the typical way you'll see it is you'll be in Wolf, you'll turn into Misc, and then you'll turn back into Wolf quickly, and then by holding forward through a slight window, you can just start a dash immediately. So it's theoretically you can save a few frames by doing this, but the big advantage of the auto dash is that you're starting a dash from a consistent point. And there's a number of things in the speedrun, like the library floor clip, that requires that kind of precision. So if you hear auto dash, it's not really a big thing for Rando. Just know that it's like this mechanic that you're seeing in front of you here. But if we were to try to perform it, if we're holding forward by a ledge and we don't let go at any point, we transform from Wolf, and in this case into Misc, and then quickly back again. And then we have a 2-frame window to perform the quickly back again, 6 to 7 frames after pressing Misc. So after we've pressed Misc, we wait 6 or 7 frames and we push Wolf, and then if we continue holding forward the whole thing, we never had to tap and we're just going to immediately dash. So again, not really Rando applicable, but very much speedrun applicable. It's very good. Alrighty, so let's keep moving along here. And so we've looked at a number of ways we can start a dash. But how do you stop this bad boy, right? So if you let go of forward while you're dashing on the ground, you will stop. And it's going to be very quick and abrupt. And if you try to hold forward again, it won't matter. Once you've stopped holding forward while you're dashing on the ground, you will come to a quick stop and you cannot recover it. Another way to stop, which I think is really cool, is you can press down to initiate a slide. You may have seen this if you've taken a look at like the Lycanthrope intro video we did for skipping death. That setup uses a slide, but it causes steady deceleration, and you'll eventually come to a stop. And just like before, pressing forward again will not save it, even though the deceleration is slower. There's a couple of situations where this can be cool, like the setup and going through the boulders and breaking a few layers of it. But the other thing you can use it for is that you can hug the ground while untransforming. So typically when you untransform from Wolf, you'll maintain your vertical height throughout the untransformation, and gravity won't like affect you. It's not going to pull you down. You're just going to go straight vertically, right? But if you initiate a slide and then you untransform, if you approach or go down a slope, or there's a downward slope while you're doing it, instead of the Wolf going forward and over, like just essentially flying over it, the Wolf will hug it going down. I tend to use this when going from the warp in Allrock's quarters through the hammer and blade room and into that room with like the spectral weapon. There's a a ledge or a ramp going down, and I'll initiate a slide untransform. And as I'm doing the untransform transformation or animation, I'll go down with the stairs rather, or like the slope, rather than being in midair and then having to fall and all that stuff. It saves a little bit of time. It's not too big of a deal, but these are the two ways we can effectively like stop a dash, especially if we're on the ground here. So let's talk about jumping for a bit, because there's a number of different things that happen with jumping, and this one's really cool. So this is the automatic turnaround. So there's a cool mechanic. We're gonna see it here. If you you see the wolf fell from two ledges there, all right? And if you watch the controller closely, while the wolf is falling off the ledge, so it's not on the ground, the controller goes from holding forward to holding back. And then watch this right here. He's holding back and the wolf is still going forward, right? Like, why did this happen, right? This is crazy. So the mechanic here is, for some reason, when you are falling off of a ledge and you hold back, or you just hold like anything, the wolf will just continue to move forward. And so in this case, by having this as a thing, we can exploit and say, okay, well, what I'm going to do is, instead of holding forward, I'm going to hold back. I'm going to continue to move forward. And then when I enter a state where this is no longer a thing, I'm immediately holding back. And so in this case here, when we go from dashing to jumping, we, on the first frame available, we will start moving backwards. And you can see how this is really useful for doing this book jump here. It's a bit of a tight frame to get into with the ledge here, but it could be useful in other places as well. Again, we want to make sure we are familiar with this mechanic, because at this point, like, we should be stopping and we're not, right? I imagine we probably could stop if we held it down, but this essentially is to get the auto forward. I'm going to use this when I do speed runs. I might do a speed run with a steering wheel because I'm silly. And this would be absolutely come in handy to get the motion I want. So it's very cool. So when we're going to be able to jump in the opposite direction and get it every single time, and get it on the first frame every time. So it's very cool. Now, sometimes this mechanic here actually gets in our way. So let's take a look at another situation, right? So let's say we're up over here. Let's see here. Here's my mouse. And we're running around, and we want to essentially do a U-turn down here, right? So if we fall off this ledge and then start holding right, what's going to happen is we're going to fall off, or we're going to hit the ground, and we're still going to run left, right? So we don't want that. We want to be able to quickly do a turnaround here, right? So what we need to do in this situation, I'm going to showcase it with a video in a moment, is we want to go neutral. So we don't want to hold any direction as we're approaching the ledge. And then that will stop the dash. And now that we're no longer in a dash, we can fall off, whether like we just fall off through acceleration or through holding forward. Or actually, I think you just need to fall off. Like you need to be let go of both, and I think the video shows that. And then while we're in the air falling, we can hold right, which in this orientation is back, but because we're no longer getting the automatic turnaround thing we saw before, when we hit the ground, we actually can start going right instead of like going up against the wall here. And when we hit the ground, because we can do the single tap dash as a thing, because we just hit the ground, we can just tap right one more time and we'll immediately start running. So there was a whole bunch to explain there, but let's take a look at the video here. And again, pause and go by frame here. So we fell off in neutral. We then held right in the air, and then we single tapped forward, and that let us continue running that direction instead of hitting the wall here, right? And again, like this is the kind of stuff that like helps us to avoid the tank controls and such like that. So it's very useful tech, and it really helps us to understand how the wolf works here. Okay, so that's it for that one. Let's take a look more at jumps. We kind of look at a jump with the auto turnaround, but let's look at jumps in particular. So there are essentially a few different ways we can jump. So if we just press the jump button while we're standing, we will jump. Yay, this is good, right? Now if we hold up when we press the jump, we will jump even higher when we're in a standstill, right? And that could be very useful. Or like we're not in a dash, let's say, right? So we're standing or we're just moving, we can get a higher jump by holding up, okay? It's very cool. So the problem is that while we're dashing, I'm saying running speed here, but I really should just say dashing, right? if we are holding up while we do a jump and we're also holding forward because we want to be dashing, you will not get increased height. And this really affects us, especially in the second castle, right, where it's upside down. There's a lot of geometry that gets in the way, that we just can't do a normal jump over, right? So we need to find a way to do a higher one, and that really is that over here. So we need to take a look at the super jump and stuff. So as we just said, holding forward doesn't prevents deceleration in the air. Or sorry, let me rephrase. So we just talked about how at running speeds we can't jump higher if we're holding forward, right? So we're going to get to that in a moment. With running jumps, holding forward is going to prevent deceleration in the air, all right? But we won't gain speed in the air. So anytime we do a jump, if we are dashing and we perform the jump, our speed will not increase. We won't get closer to that 9 pixels per frame, all right? But we will maintain our speed as long as we're holding forward, okay? And then what we can do is a super jump. So a super jump is when we are dashing and we let go of forward for a moment, and then we start holding up, and then we press jump. That will enable the tech that was happening up here, where we can get a higher jump as long as we're on a dash state, because if we let go of forward, the game no longer considers us to be dashing, we're going to start deaccelerating. So if we flick from forward to up and then press jump, we will get the additional height. And because we are still moving forward, we will not just go straight up. We're going to go forward and get the additional height, which is fantastic. What we want to do to avoid deacceleration, because now we're in the air and we're not on the ground, is we can start holding forward again once we perform the jump. That will allow us to keep jumping forward at the same rate. And so like a little like flick and stuff like that here. And I think this next video will showcase that. So we're running and we can do a jump. We won't get additional height, but we can with the super jump. Right, here we go. So this, we're not getting height. And the next one, by letting go of forward and holding up while we hit jump, we will get the super jump, and it's very fantastic, all right? So that's good stuff there. Now if we perform the super jump, and we do it successfully, it's a bit tricky to do. You kind of have to flick your fingers around, and I'm notorious for like holding the wrong button on the D-pad. It's just my thumbs are no good. We won't be in a dash anymore when we hit the ground. We're gonna like essentially deaccelerate immediately, just like we would have before, right? Because now we're no longer in a dash state, even though we maintain some momentum in the air through the super jump. So now we're gonna have to reinitiate a dash. We can do like the single tap stuff, or a skill of wolf, all sorts of things that we could do. Okay, so those are our jumps, and they're very fun. And if you can master the super jump, you're gonna save tons of time in the second castle. Okay, so let's turn this off here. There's 2 other things we want to learn with jumps. Okay, so we can use air brakes, which is essentially to say is that we can maintain our dash state, but slow the wolf down. So there are a couple of situations where we want to do this. So bring yourself into the library, and you're going from the fairy scroll check, with all the books and stuff, and you're running towards the librarian. And that getting towards the librarian has that big slope going down, and there's some geometry above where we would go to get to Lesser Demon, right? So if we dash and have like skill of wolf and power of wolf, and we're running towards the librarian, we're gonna hit that geometry that would bring us to Lesser Demon, because we're going so fast, which is good. We want to go fast, but we don't want to go that fast to bonk, right? That's slow. So what we can do is once we're airborne, we can let go of forward, and instead of getting rapid deceleration like we would have if we were on the ground, we'll get slight acceleration. And we can then press forward to stop the deacceleration and maintain our speed. So you can lower your speed in the air, and that can be used to prevent us from hitting that geometry. It's also very useful in a number of different places, like in the caverns. There's some really cool jumps and stuff you can do, especially if you've got the Holy J, which is the snorkel or the holy symbol. And there you want to bleed some speed because if you go too fast, like you'll miss some opportunities for like terrain boosts and stuff like that, like ledge jumps, which is on here, although we've covered it in other videos. The So it can be very useful for there, or if you need to stop yourself from bonking and all that kind of stuff, right? We can also do a full air stop immediately by if we are in the air and we press back, no matter how fast we're going, we will stop on a dime. And that's useful in a number of places, especially like in Lycanthrope, when you're in the marble gallery and you need to go and check the spirit orb check. And you're running from the laboratory exit towards that, and there's all those axe knights and stuff like that. And you need to start going down. You could just press press back, and then you can drop down right away. Fire 1520 has a number of tech videos that kind of go through. It's like using that or he has a number of videos for movement that utilize that tech. So I'm gonna link his playlist in the description. You should absolutely check it out because Fire is a beast with it. He's done a lot of research. So yeah, we can use air brakes while we're jumping, and we can also do the full air stop, and they're very cool. Okay, we've talked about slope jumps before in the DOP 10 video, so I'm not going to repeat myself here. Pause the video if you wanted to give this a read through. The only thing I'm going to add is that, or how this all works, all right? So what happens is when you're running and you jump on a slope, it adds your horizontal speed to the vertical speed of the jump that you're performing. So usually the vertical speed of the jump going vertical is, I believe, 3.5 pixels per frame, right? Now, if we're also, let's say, moving at maximum speed, which is 9 pixels per frame, we're going to add that speed to the 3.5 to get a net of 12.5 pixels per frame going up, right? So that's how the slope jump works, is that it converts your horizontal speed into the vertical speed, and then as a result, you just shoot right up in the air. It's fantastic. And that's how that's achieved. So yeah, give this a read through if you like. Otherwise, we're going to keep her going here, right? So let's talk about bonks, because bonks is another thing that just makes the wolf feel so slow, right? So let's understand here, right? Bonks are going to occur when we are moving faster than 5.5 pixels per frame. Now, when I say bonk, what I'm specifically referring to is hitting a wall at speed, which is this speed, that and hitting a vertical wall. So like these ledges here are vertical. And it causes Alucard to untransform, right? And that's bad because it takes a long time to transform back into the wolf, and it brings our speed back to 0, and it's all just bad, right? So we want to avoid bonks, all right? So it's kind of hard to tell if you're going fast enough to bonk and get out of that, but you can kind of look at it and say if you're going slightly slower than a wing smash, then at that point you're probably at a speed that you won't bonk and then untransform. And it could be cool in a number of situations here. Like if you hit a wall like this one here, like a short ledge, and you're going slower than 5.5, instead of untransforming, as long as you hold forward, you'll hit this wall, you'll bounce up, and because you're holding forward, you'll move forward, and you'll land on this ledge here. Sorry, I should have a mouse here. And so how that's applicable is when we are trying to get to succubus early, if we have skill of wolf and we do the wolf dash over the gap, we are moving at 4.8 pixels per frame, at least on average. And when we hit that wall, because we're moving slower than 5.5, this phenomenon will happen. We'll hit the vertical wall, even though we were in the air, because the skill wolf maintains your vertical position. And then we will bounce up and be okay. So when we're trying to do early succubus, we don't need to do like anything crazy. We just do the skill of wolf, and then we allow the wolf to bonk. And as long as we hold forward, we're going to get that every single time, all right? Good stuff. The other thing is that it's possible to bonk on a horizontal surface, like a ceiling. And the cool thing about that is if you do have that happen to you, and it's potentially common when you're going to creature in the second castle with all those like ramps and stuff, you won't lose wolf form. You just lose all of your horizontal speed. The wolf just drops down wherever you are. So you won't untransform, but you lose all your speed. So avoiding bonks there are very cool, and you can do that through some tech and like using air brakes and such. Okay, so we've talked about that. we've also suggested some things about maintaining your vertical height. So we just talked about the skill of wolf, and how it lets you get off for succubus here. So that's very cool. The and you can actually jump in midair near the end of skill of wolf's charge. So there's like a small frame window, and you can mash jump. But essentially, if you do skill wolf and you mash jump, the wolf will in midair just do like a little hop. You don't need that to get past succubus, but there are some times where it can be useful. So again, it's a small window, but you don't have to be precise with it. You can just mash and it should come out. The only other time where you'll maintain vertical height is through untransforming, like we've gone through, and that's how we do the death skip in Lycanthrope in particular. Or there's like some other times where you can do that. So like for instance, there's a cool tech that God's Child showed me where if you, let's say you do the succubus skip, so you go over the gap and you bonk on the wall and you rise up because you're holding forward. If you do a skill of wolf charge and then you do that through the screen, and then when the screen transitions, you buffer the untransformation by just holding the button while the screen is dark. You will maintain your momentum, so you won't fall down, and you'll actually land on the ledge right beside the item vase that's on the other side. It's very cool. Okay, that's it here. So we're getting to the end of this bad boy. So let's look at some transforming shenanigans here. So normally, if you transform into the wolf, it takes 75 frames, and that's gross, right? So it's like like over a second. But we can shorten that to 55 frames, and that's a good chunk. Like like if you think about it in percentage terms, by doing a quick miss. So instead of going to wolf right away, you just hit mist and then immediately hit wolf. And you'll do a quick wolf transformation, and you'll get to 55 frames. So every time you do that, you save 20 frames. You do it 3 times, you save a second. All good. So over a long period of time, you can say like 5-6 seconds through the randomizer. You can also do wolf to bat, where when we are running with the wolf, like we're going like full tilt with power of wolf, then you transition to bat. So you go right from just hit the bat button. You will maintain your height because obviously you will. I think you actually gain a bit of height, but like the bat doesn't, like gravity doesn't affect it. You always maintain your vertical height unless you change it by pressing up or down. So you'll just shoot forward even if it's over gaps. And you maintain the speed of the wolf through the transform animation going to bat, and actually a little bit beyond it as well. So it's very cool and can make for some very effective transitions. The last thing is with blue doors. So this doesn't come up very often, but with blue doors, when you touch the door and then Alucard moves through it, Alucard has to stand there and wait for the door to close because Alucard's a lad. You gotta stop the draft coming through because like the heating bill in Castlevania is like massive, right? The place is crazy big. So what you can do is the game allows you for some reason you can buffer one action while you're going through the door, and Alucard will automatically do it when Alucard's supposed to be standing still. And where you might see this happen a lot is that you can just hold triangle, and you will get a backdash, only a single one, while the door is closing, and so you gain a bit of distance, right, for free. And I mean, it's not a lot, but you might as well gain it. But instead of doing a backdash, what we can do is just hold the wolf button through that, and Alucard will spend his or while the door is closing, Alucard is turning into the wolf. So essentially, you're getting the transformation for free because you'd just be standing there otherwise, right? So you're taking these 75 frames and you're just putting them right in your pocket. So you're literally saving over a second by doing it. And if there's really the only time you really need that in most cases is when you are opening the door down to the bottom of the castle. But I guess you could use it going back from Silver Ring too. But typically at that point you have bat anyways. Okay, here are some miscellaneous things as well, just to finish this video up. I'm not going to go through them all, but this will tell you, the cool here, like there's an attack delay for Alucard, usually it's 3 frames, but the wolf might do a bit more. I go through the MP use for the typical seed or a Lycanthrope seed. And how much damage the wolf does at certain places, and check out the video on how statistics work to understand how like the int bonus works. But otherwise, that's all for this video here. I hope you've enjoyed it. The obviously any mistakes or additions will be in the comments as always, so please add your 2 cents there. And again, thanks for Talic for helping me out with this. There's a lot of tech in here I had no idea about it, so that we would never have this video without him. And yeah, check out the video description for links to Fire 1520's resources, and I'll probably put some other things in there. Otherwise, this has been a good one. We'll see you in the next one, and cheers, eh?